Hi, I'm Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Haley.
Before we start, I just wanted to add a quick note that we are trying a brand new filming setup today, so it may be a little bit different. And if you have any feedback on it being better or worse, or just any comments like that, leave us a comment down in the doobly doo.
We're going to participate in Top 5 Wednesdays today, and the topic is Top 5 children's books that you should reread as an adult. And we're going to go in reverse top 5 order, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So let's get right into it.
So my number 5 pick is Have Spacesuit, Will Travel by Robert Heinlein. It is a pretty older piece of juvenile sci-fi, I guess is how you might describe that. I think it's from the late 50s or early 60s, about a high school student who wins a spacesuit, a surplus spacesuit in a soap company's contest, and his spending a summer restoring it into working order, and then all sorts of fantastical things happen after that point, which I won't spoil. I really enjoy it. It's kind of from the golden era of sci-fi, so they assumed that we'd have colonies on the moon by 2010 and all that sort of thing, but I think it's pretty good. It's just kind of got that grandeur of humanity's ambitions and potential. I will admit that a big part of why I like it is that I have a really great audiobook copy of it that's a full cast audio. In fact, I think it's actually the company that made it is Full Cast Audio.
That's the only way I've actually read this book. He listens to it at bedtime sometimes.
I do.
It's a nice audiobook.
It is very nice. I'm not sure if you can get copies of it anymore, because I tried to find it once on their website and they've taken it off their catalog. I think they lost the license or something like that. But if you can find Full Cast Audio's production of Half Spacesuit Will Travel, I would definitely recommend that as the way to experience this book. So yeah, Half Spacesuit Will Travel by Robert Heinlein.
And my 5th pick is Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. It's a book of poetry that is aimed at 9 to 12-year-olds. It's really funny. That's definitely its hallmark quality. It's also pretty poignant, and I reread it several times as an adult and never found it any less amusing than I did the first time I read it in the 4th grade, I guess it was. All of Shel Silverstein's books really transfer well throughout age groups, but I think Where the Sidewalk Ends is kind of the seminal work, the one that you should read if you're going to read one.
And number 4 on my list is Artemis Fowl by Owen Colfer. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I mean, it's a pretty popular series when I was growing up, but is about a young criminal genius trying to defraud a bunch of gold out of fairies in the modern world. It's really funny. It's definitely a good read. I remember really liking it as a kid, and I've come back to it a few times as the author has put out more books in the series, and I've liked it every time. So, I mean, it's the humor can be a little bit childish at times. I mean, there's some crude humor in there, but it's still pretty good stuff.
A heist story is always there for me.
It's true. You definitely get to see the plan carried off, and good stuff.
My 4th pick is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which, I mean, everyone has probably read at this point, but it is a book about several children who, while away during the Blitz in London, end up going through a magical closet into another world, and lots of different things happen. I don't want to give anything away in case anyone actually hasn't read it. So, it's very magical, and you will notice that is a theme in the books I picked for this list. But it will take you back to how you felt as a child about fairy tales and talking animals and things like that. Everything is very intricate and moralistic, and just really it evokes nostalgia in me more than probably any other piece of written work.
And my number 3 pick is Broken Sky by Chris Wooding. It's another long-running series that I really enjoyed as a kid. It's sort of an interesting literary style because the influence of anime is really pronounced in it, and that was the thing that kind of drew me to it at first. But it's in a fantasy setting, and it's actually been a long time since I've read through those books, but I'm hoping they'd hold up as an adult because I found the world building really interesting, and I think that was actually the book series that got me into fan fiction at all. When I was reading through it, as I went looking for more and found a fan fiction community, and then fan fiction, everything else, and
I like that.
But I definitely recommend it. One of these days I'm going to have to go through my bookshelves and see if I can actually find all of the books in that series and read through them sometime.
My third pick is Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. Sorry if there was a pause there. I forgot for a second. It is a beautiful book. Most of us read it as small children. It's very popular for a very good reason, and that's because it is very good at capturing what it is like to be a small child and to be angry, while also telling a very poignant story. I think all adults should reread it because I think sometimes we forget what it's like to be powerless and have feelings.
Taking my number 2 spot is the Pendragon series by DJ McHale. I have to confess that with this series I never actually finished the very last book because I had kind of started aging out of the target audience before it came out, and have never circled back to it, and I've always meant to, because I really enjoyed the series up to that point. It is about a young man who is like traveling between like alien parallel worlds, trying to fighting a evil corrupting force in each one, and each book is about a different world and trying to win the battle against, I guess, chaos, or however. I mean, I don't know. I'm having a difficult
basic
time.
Good and evil concept.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's like order against chaos, and against corruption and that sort of thing. But I really liked the series as far as it got, and I'm sad that I never got to the ultimate payoff and the answers to all the questions and things like that. Now, it is entirely possible that the answers do not live up to the questions at all, because I never read the conclusion. But I really liked it, and I thought it was, very good writing, and it's another one of those things that one of these days I'm going to buy book number 10 and actually finish it.
So it's less all people should reread it, and
as
you
I need
want
to reread
it.
Yeah, that actually has been what's kind of been stopping me, is that I'd be very torn between, do I need to read all 9 books to read book number 10, or could I get away with...
It's been long enough, you should probably
I know,
read
but at the same time, like, the Broken Sky books are short. Like, I mean, they're pretty, thin little books. The Pendragon ones are more, I mean, they're not door stoppers, but they're more substantial, so that's a big reading commitment. Anyways,
My second book is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Uh, that is honestly, in my opinion, the best modern children's book. I think you would find very few people who would disagree with that. And it it ages so well. You wouldn't think that it would, but it really ages well. I've been listening to a podcast where they go through the book chapter by chapter and kind of picking through the chapters as I listen to it, and it's still so wondrous and scary, actually, quite scary and interesting. And even though I've read it a million times, I keep finding new things. The podcast is Wizard Team by Black Girls Nerd Out, I think is their handle on Twitter. You should totally listen to it. It's great. They're rereading the whole series.
We'll put a link in the doodly-doo.
We'll put a link in the doodly-doo. But reread the book. It's worth doing. If you haven't as an adult, just do it. And our top pick is
The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. We actually both picked that and decided to kind of combine it into one.
I mean, it's hard not to pick it. We've bonded a lot over this book. It was my favorite book as a very, very small child. Like as a toddler, my dad read it to me over and over and over again.
I mean, when I was a kid, I was really into just those books that had kind of a timeless feel, and that was certainly one of them. I really enjoyed it. I've reread it a few times since then, just over the years. It is a children's book. I like it better than The Lord of the Rings by a substantial measure. Not that I dislike The Lord of the Rings, but
there is a special magic about The Hobbit, though. Like, when you think of how Lord of the Rings feels, honestly, The Hobbit feels more like Lord of the Rings than the Lord of the Rings does.
And it's more condensed, like concentrated, and more. I mean, it's more accessible. But I love it. I've heard good audiobook versions of it. I'm a big
The music is great in it.
Yes,
in the
it certainly
audiobook,
is.
it's really well done.
And it's just one of those things that part of why I like it so much is, I'm not sure how to describe what I mean, but it's a children's story, and it's a classic, and it's one of those things that it just feels so like comforting and familiar in like the tropes that it uses and things like that. I mean, some of that is just because it is such a classic that it established some of those things, but at the same time, it is very masterfully crafted, I feel like.
It is. And, I mean, if you've never really read a book aloud and you have a regular reading partner, I recommend at least reading part of it aloud because it has a specialness to it when it's read aloud. It feels nice to read.
I definitely think it was intended to be read aloud.
Yeah, it definitely has that feeling. Especially if you have little kids, you gotta try and read that to them. We can't wait until our kid is old enough to actually sit through a substantial story.
I have mentioned in a previous video, we own a really nice illustrated copy of The Hobbit, and I have the ambition that once our daughter is a little bit old, like Haley said, and more able to appreciate that is going to be a regular appearance in bedtime story time, and I'm hoping that she will like it as much as we do.
Me too. And that's all we really have today. I hope you enjoyed the video. All of the books we mentioned and our Goodreads links are in the doodly-doo.
So if you liked the video, like, comment, subscribe, and we hope to see y'all again soon.